One. Live from Las Vegas, Nevada, welcome to the Virtual Light broadcast at lightworker.com. Today is Saturday, February 23rd, 2013, and this is segment 3. Please welcome Jeanne K. Collard.
Hi, welcome back to the show. I'd like to introduce you to our next guest. Her name is Annika Cormans, also known as Jeanne. She is a writer, an historical researcher, tour guide, and producer. For over 35 years, she has been researching the history of mankind and its religious and cultural path. Ever since she was a child, she enjoyed traveling and discovering hidden mysteries. The biggest mystery, however, was when she moved to the region known as Octania. As a tour guide, she was able to explore the area with its many secrets to her heart's content. And in 2008, she decided to start writing a thriller book, White Lie, which was published in 2011. White Lie is a story about forbidden history, hidden relics, and adventures of a group of people who get involved in something much bigger than themselves. It combines the mission of the Knights Templar with relic hunter Otto Rahn in their search for the Holy Grail in the years leading up to World War II. It's also Heinrich Himmler's, an SS Nazi, relic hunter's quest to find the Holy Grail, the Cup of Christ. He will stop at nothing to win his prize, including murder and a time machine. So that's all I'm going to tell you for right now. Welcome to the show, Annika.
Very good to be here.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm very excited to have you on the show, and I thoroughly enjoyed your book. It was just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It grabs your attention right from the beginning, and it really holds your interest all the way through. And I thought it was, I got through the very first chapter, and I put the book down, and I thought, this is going to be a major motion picture. There was no doubt in my mind.
Wow.
And then to come to find out later, that was really your intention all along, wasn't it?
Yes, I wanted it to be a screenplay in the first place, but I started writing a thriller book, and it took off. It's selling worldwide, thousands of copies. I had no idea that it would pick up like that, but I always intended it to be a screenplay.
Well, I have no doubt in my mind, because it's very Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demon-like. So it's a wonderful book. And I thought... So I wanted to ask you, first of all, you wrote the book, White Lie, under the pen name of Jeanne. So what's the connection to that name?
Well, the name Dout is my ancestral name. So I go back about 700, 800 years into time, into Occitania, where I live right now. I didn't know when we moved there. It's my father who brought it up. Like, hey, you've come home. And I started to ask him, what do you mean I've come home? So he explained a little bit about having a French connection, and I started to dive into this history. And I found out that the name Cormans derives from Dout, which is August, which is the first harvest. And Core also is, the goddess of harvest. It's like a literal translation of the old French name when the family moved to Flanders to escape the religious problems in the south of France. So I'm honoring my ancestors to write under my pen name, and of course I'm publishing the book in France. So I think it's a nice thing to do when you are in France. Everybody who knew me in the circle in France was like, "Who's Jeanne Dut?" And everybody knew me personally, but they didn't know that it was me who wrote the book. That was quite funny.
Well, that's a great history. I love that. And why the name White Lie?
White Lie is because we're beginning to understand that a lot of things that we are studying at school, that this is really not the history that is really happening. The history that we know is the thick blue line that everybody can see. But underneath the thick blue line, you have this red thin line. And I'm discovering the red thin line. And I discovered that the thick blue line is a big white lie. So I thought that would be a good title.
Very interesting. In fact, I thought it was very funny that you I'll let you tell the story that you got in a lot of trouble. You were a little rebel in school as a child and got in trouble for your thoughts.
When I was 7 years old, I was kicked out of class because I found a contradiction in the New Testament. And I raised my hand, and I sort of drawn the attention of my teacher to his contradiction. What he said the week before was completely contradiction to what he said now. And I was like, sir. And he said, okay, you wait outside until the... So he couldn't answer the question, of course, because there's no direct answer to it. So when I came home, my father said, why were you kicked out of class? And I said, give me a Bible. So we found the contradiction in the New Testament, and actually he was proud of me. So from when I was 7 years old, it was what went on in this first century. I wanted to find out. So that is when my research started. So when everybody was in discos, I was in libraries, and I was a bit silly.
Well, you know, you were lucky that you had a father that really supported you like that. I mean, what a wonderful man.
Yeah, he's my big example.
Well, you know, you obviously did so much research in this book, and I actually think you're quite sneaky because as I was reading the book is that, you know, it's a fiction, but you intertwine so much facts inside of you just going back and forth, and so by the time I put the book down, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know what's true and what's not true anymore.
Yeah. I want people to really, you know, go on the internet, research, find out what is true and what is not true, what is the fiction and what is the non-fiction. What I'm trying to do with White Lie is I want to sow, inspire, and make people think.
Well, you certainly did that, I have to tell you that. You know, I thought it was interesting, too, that there's a researcher by the name of Andrew Gow. I think I said that right.
Andrew Goff.
Gow. I butcher names terribly, so sorry about that. And he's a big researcher of Otto Rahn, which is a character in the book.
Right.
And he's a big fan of your book. And he says, and I quote, that Jeanne has revealed more shocking truths than any other book since the Da Vinci Code, including the real identity of Indiana Jones. Well, that's a pretty big review there.
Yeah, that's a big compliment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very proud.
And then I understand also that in your research that you were able to meet Henry Lincoln.
Yeah. When you live in southern France, very close to Rennes-le-Chateau, you meet Henry Lincoln. He's always there, and I've been meeting him since 2008. And Henry Lincoln is a dear friend of Peter and me. Peter's my husband. So Henry has become a dear friend, and I've always looked at him as a sort of daddy. He's the daddy of Rennes-le-Chateau, and Rennes-le-Chateau, of course, is a very, very big research topic. Yes. That is way too much to tell right now, but it's about the secrets that inspired Dan Brown to write the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, and Henry Lincoln actually met or knew Otto Rahn. Is that correct? Do I have that right? Did he know Otto Rahn? Or
No, Otto Rahn died in 1939.
In 1939, okay, that would make him pretty old. So let's talk about the book too. There's, it's so interesting. You have all these timelines coming together, and I thought you were very clever. You have people going back to the time of the crucifixion, and they actually get to meet Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and then you bring Otto Rahn back from 1930 or forward from 1939. So that was brilliant.
Back to the future.
Yeah, exactly. That was brilliant.
Thank you. I try to find a way of how am I going to do this, and I needed a time machine. So I thought, oh God, because how do you get away with a time machine these days? It's not done anymore. But I found a scientist who actually was working on a project with a sort of time device, and the thing is that he was working with a wormhole theory. So I was getting into this. The wormhole theory is very interesting because there were only 3 flaws, and of course in my book, the professor who designed this time device, he tackled those 3 flaws.
Yes.
So it was suddenly possible. So they were experiencing a whole new way of research, because you can actually go back in time and see for yourself what happened in the 1st century, which is what I would have liked to do, actually.
Well, you make it very believable, and there are people out there who do believe that, you know, the time travel is possible. So it was very believable in the book. And there was something else in the book that I thought was interesting. You had the Knights Templar. that while they were conquering Jerusalem, that they found the Ark of the Covenant under King Solomon's temple. Now, fact or fiction?
Well, I think they found a clue to where the Ark was taken to. I think the Ark was taken to Ethiopia at some point in time. And I've tried to explain it a little bit in the prologue of White Lie, what I think happened. So I think the Knights Templar followed in the footsteps of the Ark. And they went to Ethiopia and actually found it there, nicked it, replaced it with a copy, went to France. Because 100 years later, there was some kind of group of Ethiopians going to the Pope asking for the Ark back. And this is historic fact. So it's like, if you find all those bits and pieces in history, you may not have the complete puzzle. There are pieces left out. But if you take a bit of a distance, you can see the whole picture. You recognize what happened. That's what I have done eventually.
Well, the Pope's not copying to that one, is he?
Well, the Pope didn't even know why they were there and what Ark, because the Knights Templar never gave it to Rome, So.
Right. Well, you also have, there's so much legend around the Holy Grail and the Cup of Christ. Can you explain that to me a little bit, what exactly that is?
The Holy Grail. Well, the Holy Grail is, in my universe, the Holy Grail can be three things. It can be all of them, actually. There was the habit of a royal family or a noble family to have a sort of golden or silver bowl, and the bowl would be used as a divination cup. This is going into the Near East, Middle East section in the old days. So Jesus could have had a cup, a real cup, which went from, father to son or from mother to daughter, or anyway, in the family it would. And the Hebrew name for such a cup is goral. So, grail, goral. So I thought maybe that could have been it. Maybe it was also, the female principle. The goddess in each of us. We need to balance up male and female energies a little bit more. And it's been a very male sort of thing going on for the past 2,000 years. And I think the loss of the goddess throughout those 2 millennia has been the cause of everybody trying to get back in touch with this feminine principle. So this grail could be the soul, the heart, the feminine principle. And it could also be a bloodline, There were, in the old days, it was very important to follow a bloodline. It had something to do with the genes, and, it's very important to follow a bloodline. So it can be either or it can be and. And I'm going for and.
I like that. And, and that was with Otto Rahn. I think the biggest uncovering, if you will, in the book was that he found that through Hermetic teachings that the belief in God is bothly divinely feminine and masculine, where we've kind of been fed to believe that God is a male deity.
Yeah.
And, in metaphysics and spirituality, we pretty much know Father, Mother, God, but that might not go so well with other people.
Well, it is, as above, so below. You have the number 8 going on all the time. So you have the eternal spirit, which is a male quality. And you have the goddess, the earth, Mother Earth thing. So you always have the spiritual and the material going into each other. So it's again not either or, it's and. It's the Deus means two. So you always have God being male and female at the same time as being one. And in Aramaic, Jesus had the Lord's Prayer called Abun. And Abun means all father, mother. So there is this balance thing that was disturbed later, after the 1st century.
Well, in this book, it is a fiction, it is a thriller, but there is a lot of hidden messages in there. So what were you trying to accomplish with writing this book? I
want people to start to think for themselves. It is very important that people pick up on their own beliefs rather than following other people's beliefs. It's important that people start to discover for themselves what is in their hearts and follow their own hearts. The thing is that if you work with your heart, everything starts to fall into place. A lot of things fall into place for you. Your whole life course falls into place. And I think that is pretty much the message, to work with your heart. Love conquers everything. Love is the light in the room, in any dark room that lights up the room. You have to follow the love pattern, because love is God, you know. Love is beyond race, politics, religion. It rules the realm of the heart. So this is where I'm going for. This is my message. And I would like to inspire people very much. Inspire people to go and research. Do your own research. Don't take anybody else's research. Don't take anything for granted. Don't believe anything until you find yourself comfortable with a certain subject. So I think that is a sort of wraps up the message of White Light.
Well, I think that's really great advice, because there's so much out there that we really, that are a lot of contradictions, as you bring up many times in the book. Like I said, by the end, it's like, I really don't know what's true and what's not. But one thing that I like that you do as well is that I personally am just fascinated with the times of the life and times of the Essenes. And, you talk a lot about that in the book, and the actual original teachings of Jesus.
Yeah. If you go into what is more important about the time of Jesus, is what he was saying, what he was teaching. Jesus was teaching something. And we are so focused on this cross thing, and it's focused on the crucifixion. It's like, why don't we focus on the teachings of Jesus? And when you start to study the teachings of Jesus, you find out that he was teaching the Hermetic teachings. And the Hermetic teachings was something that the Essenes did. The Essenes were very much into purifying their existence by looking at their conduct. If you are a good person, conduct is the main thing. Purifying yourself. That is what happened in southern France with the Cathars. They were like the Essenes. They tried to purify themselves by having excellent conduct and by having this male-female balance in their lives and by being a good person. If you are a good person, you can change the world because you inspire other people to be good as well. You're a light bringer, you're a light worker. This is very important to have this beaming out into the world. You can change the world by starting with yourself.
And I really truly believe that, and that's what was so great about the book, that you did bring back those original teachings, and it was just so distorted in so many areas that I really enjoyed that part of the book, that it runs through there. So the book as well, you left it wide open for another book, which I thought was very clever of you. So do you have another book in the works that will pick up where this one takes off?
Oh yeah, I'm writing a sequel. Everybody will be very pleased that I'm writing a sequel, because there's a lot in the New Testament, but there is a lot of mysteries in the Old Testament, and I found a big mystery. So I'm writing a sequel on the very, very big mystery, forbidden mystery of the Old Testament. But it will take a couple of years for me to write. So
you're just going to leave us hanging? Is that what I'm hearing here? That's what I'm getting here.
It's worth waiting for.
Well, it's a big one. What do you think are some of the biggest, if you even care to answer this, some of the biggest misconceptions during that time period? Because you call that first century the whole century of hidden truths, something like that.
Yeah, it's mainly because when Rome started to be a power state, they changed some things that happened in the first century. They changed history, as it were, to fit their book. They wanted to have a power state with a religion. This is Constantine's work eventually, and people picked up from that. So what you're trying to do is find out what really happened in the first century, because the truth is so much more beautiful than the white lie. So everybody should really get into studying this real history of the first century. It's amazing.
Well, I think it's also very exciting that this is obviously you put your heart and soul in this. Your whole life has been this research and these writing in these books. And so tell me, you actually take people on tours now of Occitania, where the whole book went?
Occitania is a land of myth, legend. It's got beautiful nature. We have a tour operator called Barenka, and we do tours through the country. We have authors coming in with their tour groups, and this is an amazing place to go because it's unknown. You know, everybody's been to all the major places in the world, but Occitania is very, very special. So it is also the country where Otto Rahn went to. This is the relic hunter that lived before the Second World War, and he went there to find the Grail. So this is Grail country. This is the place where actually the Grail myth started. It's the place where the Knights Templars were, the singing minstrels called the troubadours, the Cathars, the Gnostic Christian groups that were holding on to that first century mystery and history that Rome tried to get rid of. And this is where the Holocaust in the 13th century took place. The Holocaust that was forgotten, which I try to explain it in White Lie, what this Holocaust was about. Almost 1 million people died because Rome wanted the power and they couldn't have other Christian groups to become popular. And the Cathars became very popular. And Rome just tried to wipe them out. This is close to 1 million people, you know. So I think it's important that we know that there is this forbidden history, not just hidden history, but also forbidden history. History that was pushed away, pushed on the ground, because nobody was about to hear it. And Otto Rahn was the one that discovered the Cathar, true history of the Cathars and the Holocaust. And he wrote a book called Crusade Against the Grail, which sort of wraps it all up in the title. It was a crusade against the Grail. And we're now beginning to understand what it is all about. And I think it's, if you read a book called White Lie, you will read all about the history, the mystery, first century, the Cathars, the Gnostic groups, all of the things that Otto Rahn was trying to do. And of course, Otto Rahn himself became he was the one that Himmler hired to find the Grail for him. He couldn't find a physical Grail, and he unfortunately ended his life in 1939 because he couldn't live with the Germany that it had become. He couldn't live with Nazis. He couldn't live with the Holocaust that was taking place already in the second half of the 1930s. So he ended his life. He couldn't live in this horror state anymore. So Otto Rahn was not a Nazi. He was part of the SS, found out what it was about, and then tried to quit. He actually quit. He sent a note to somebody that he wanted to quit. And he ended his life in 1939. He was found in the snow in Tyrol.
Yeah, I mean, how do you tell Hitler, I'm not liking this anymore?
Yeah, like, I can't live with it. Literally, you can't live with it, and you just take your own life. A lot of people did that. A lot of Germans
just tormented.
did that. Yeah, they couldn't live with the Germany that it had become.
Well, yeah, like I said in the book, that you really, you're conflicted with him because he seems like he's actually a very nice man, and he has a heart and soul, and he has the history, and he means so much. But yeah, he was a Nazi, and he was right in the thick of all that time period.
He was shocked. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking when you were telling me about Occitania that this has got to be Annika heaven.
It is.
Heaven on earth for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the place that everything took place that I was researching, and living there means that I could do everything I could explore to my heart's content. And the result is all in my book.
And the results are great. They really are. And I can imagine that your tour business is going to start really picking up when people start really getting a hold of this book.
That's good. The country needs it.
Yeah,
economically.
Yeah.
It's just the grapes, grapes and tourism.
But we're not knocking the grapes. Let me tell you.
Well, the grape, the bloodline is symbolized by grapes.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
it's the spirit. So, I'm down with that. So.
Yeah.
But it's been so much fun to have you here. I really, really enjoyed the book. And I wanted to let you know that the book is out. You can find anywhere you can find the book that books are sold. Amazon, I know it's at Barnes & Nobles. It's at Kindle edition, Nook. You can find this book. It's called White Lie. And also, check out Annika's, I get confused, Annika Jeanne, but Annika's website is jeannedout.com, and I know we have that up on the screen. She's got some great trailers and lots of information about the book. I know you're going to love it. So that's all the time we have for now. Stick around because we're going to be back with Sandy Sedgbear with more of the Virtual Light broadcast.